for the digital soldiers, so to speak, to kind of come into their own and to really become the fighting force that needed to happen in this information war.
Speaking of Elon, though, that was one of the fun ones that he did when.
Oh yeah, he trolled Hillary. he deleted that tweet though.
Did he? Yeah, oh man, that one actually made me happy.
But also, and I think so. Then once that happens. Then I think that once you get a majority of the people, because again, it's we the people waking up, then I think then the military can step in, because then the military feels like, okay, the people are on their side.
Right.
If you didn't have the people on your side, then it feels like a coup, and the media would spin that out of control. And so it's all.
Well, good evening, folks. We got Matt Thayer and Joy Thayer. They own a website called Sparrow Rumble, SPERO Rumble.com, and they are amazing filmmakers. Actually, today I was supposed to interview the Aggie family, and they said, hey, listen, we can't make it, but we're going to send you our good friends who are incredible filmmakers. And I tell you, I watched some of their stuff. It's off the charts. But before we go any further, guys, please do me a favor and hit the pause button. Go down below, go to Rumble, join us on Rumble as quickly as possible, because this platform is playing games with me that I can't even begin to tell you. QFS1776.com is the holy grail of the quantum financial system. What's to come? The XRP, the dinars, the ZIMs, all of it. Okay, it offers an education that is unparalleled. So you want to definitely immerse yourself in that, because we're never going back to the old system. We're going to burn it down to the ground. There's nothing to go back to, and out of the ashes will rise the phoenix. T-shirts, you got to get yourself decorated. You want people to know what is Nesara, Gesara, what is the QFS, what is XRP, okay? Unified TV right down below, okay? If you want the monsters to go away, you got to stop paying the monsters, right? Don't give your money to Netflix, give it to Unified TV. Also, gold and silver, we get the best, cheapest prices down below. Make sure you use the promo code Mel Carmine, and don't forget to join our Telegram group. We got 30,000 patriots waiting to take you by the hand and show you how to buy all of these assets and get yourself positioned, because it's coming. You can't stop it. And also, if you need $10,000 worth of XRP or $10 million worth of XRP, I'm the guy you come see, because I'm connected to all the brokers that can make that happen for you. Guys, welcome to our show. Tell us about your film career. Seems that it's going to be literally lit on fire here shortly, because your films are beyond exceptional. 5 stars all the way. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're fortunate enough to be a husband and wife team. So years ago, I was pursuing filmmaking. I met Matt, and he was doing graphic design and editing and a bunch of stuff, and said I want to direct some things. And so we started a corporate commercial company, and we've done thousands of projects. I worked on the film I Can Only Imagine and Unplanned. I was a co-producer. Matt did the behind-the-scenes directings of that. And then all of a sudden we got this opportunity to film President Trump in the White House in 2020. And so we filmed him and 31 women in the business, the family, the campaign. And it was all about their firsthand experiences of who he is as a person. And then we've done the Reawakening series, and we just finished Selection Code, and we've got some other awesome stuff coming up.
Yeah.
Cool. And who was the first one? Was it you, Matt, or was it you, Joy, that said, I think we should start a film company and start doing our own documentaries and tell the story?
I think it was me.
Okay.
Because this was back in like 2007.
Yeah,
actually,
it's been a bit.
It's been a while. We started doing short films with the kids.
Okay.
It's just kind of learning filmmaking. I'd been homeschooled my whole life, and so I just was like, well, hey, I want to be a director, and so I just bought some books and started doing tutorials and figuring things out. And yeah, like I said, we started doing short films with the kids because the kids wanted to act, and they were also very cheap. And so we started winning film festivals. Mm-hmm. So we started a film company. Yeah, back in 2009, I think it was, mm-hmm. and then kind of incorporated back in 2014, 2015, and then started really doing the documentaries we started in 2018. 2018 was when we started doing the documentaries. Yeah.
Uh-huh. We'd done a couple before, but nothing to this caliber.
Yeah, the bigger.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So.
Well, when did the stuff that I see now, I guess this is your latest stuff. it seems like it's really taking off because it's really, above and beyond what most of the stuff is out there. When did this really start to take place, and as far as, starting to get traction? And then now you're at the Wake America tour and all that stuff. And are you on stage as, what's his name, introduce you guys on stage and all of that?
Yeah. Clay Clark has had us speak several times. Yeah. So I think it was in 2020. It was 2020 when we were asked to do the documentary about President Trump. And our friends Joe and Daryl asked us to do that. Joe had become friends with Laura Trump, and so kind of had an in there, and wanted to tell the stories of all of the women that knew Trump, but their stories had been suppressed. And so we were like, well, yeah, we'll jump on that. And so they asked me to direct, Joy to produce. And we got that done in like 90 days,
like record time.
Like
we've done commercial work that's taken us
longer than that. Yeah. And so
we were trying to get it out before election season. Yeah,
before the election, and then we got suppressed with that because that kind of that October 2020 was like the big purge, and so we kind of got hit with that, and so a lot of people didn't know about it, and then we, after the inauguration of the resident happened, we ended up getting on Newsmax quite a bit. People kind of found it, and then Clay had seen it, and then we ended up getting hooked up with Clay. And then he said, hey, I've got this idea for this documentary on the Reawaken tour with General Flynn. And I'm like, well, that'd be fun. And so we decided to do that. We got that done in about 5 months for the first episode. And then after that happened, got connected with the Selection Code Project and worked with Mike Lindell, and also was working with Laura Logan for a period of time on that, and then got that out in August. So
but prior to that, we had done thousands and thousands of corporate commercial projects. We worked on an episode of BBC Top Gear. We did a bunch of stuff, and it was really when when I worked on Unplanned and you worked on Unplanned, what had happened is the day the film came out, our Twitter account had gotten taken down. So that was our first experience of, hundreds of thousands of followers, right? Just gone. And so our executive producers went and flew out to the big house in DC and checked everybody out, and they had a discussion, and then that's what led us into these projects. And so when we did the Trump I Know film, Matt came home and said, these guys want us to do this project, and neither one of us actually voted
for President Trump in 2016. Yeah. We didn't vote for Hillary either. No. There were other options, but we were believing what we definitely the narratives that we were hearing.
So you guys didn't vote for Trump?
Not in 2016.
Not in 2016. In 2020, we absolutely did.
Okay.
Yeah. But in 2016, we heard all this stuff, and we voted third party because we followed somebody that we thought was a good candidate and everything. And
we're more libertarian, and so we were we voted libertarian, followed a lot of Rand Paul, Ron Paul, all of that kind of stuff, and I just thought Trump was going to be a train wreck. And and he won me over.
For sure. Pretty quickly, because Matt's dad had told us the whole time prior to 2016 that this was the guy and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I think your dad has lost it.
I thought my dad had lost it too.
And
for
then
a little bit. Yeah.
He gets in office and his dad's like, look what he's doing. Look at the policies. Look what he's implementing. Look what he's, and so both of us are avid readers. We started reading. I've read everything. Yeah. I've read all his books, his ex-wife's book, his daughter's books, his kids' books, and he's been consistent over the years. And all of a sudden I was like, damn it, I've been duped. And so then we became huge fans. Yeah. And then we went and worked on the film, and we actually got to go into Kaylee McKenna's home. We got to travel around with Laura and go into Laura and Eric's
I've actually gotten to meet him twice.
Yeah. And so it's just been, we've got to actually experience them firsthand, and they are the whole entire family, same on screen, off screen. It's not like the Kardashians or the Clintons where you get, somebody that's, got their little persona on camera, and then they're whatever jerks.
Yeah. Am I allowed to ask some sensitive question? Kelly McEnany, is she the daughter of John Jr.?
Kaylee?
No.
Yeah.
We got to
No.
meet her parents.
We got to meet her parents.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We got to meet her
Yeah.
parents.
I don't
We
know,
gotta
but
go to their
there's these
house.
rumors floating
Yeah.
around.
No, we can dispel that. We actually we actually got to hang out with her mom and dad at her mom and dad's house. And yeah, they're very, very normal people and not
Well,
dumb.
I think what was great is we were used to seeing, Kaylee behind the podium, and she was just the boss. And then she's there with her dad, and all of a sudden she just melted.
Yeah, she just turns into a little girl,
And he's like, "It's all about the truth, right, honey?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Because if it's the truth, then you don't have to worry about what lie you told." And there was such a great experience. And then the other thing that she said is she used to point at people, so you can go back and watch her videos. And she'd say, you have a question, And her dad said, they're actually people made in the image of God. And she knew who was trying to be there to sabotage her, but you need to get curious rather than judgmental. And so she changed it. Instead of pointing, she started going like this, so she would see them as humans and ask them questions, And she started complimenting them, "Nice tie, Jim." And then that way she was like, they're a human being. I'm going to treat them like a human being. And then she'd rip them apart because she's like, I know my facts.
Right. She'd pull out the binder on them.
Yeah.
So you got to hang out with Laura Trump. Did you meet the man himself, Donald Trump?
Yes, I got to meet him. I got to meet him directly. Actually,
in the
twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went.
got to meet him last year.
As far as we know, we're still the only documentary about President Trump that actually has an interview with him in it.
Mm-hmm.
All the other documentaries are just people talking about him.
Mm-hmm.
We actually got an audience with him in the White House, and that was an experience. We thought we were going to have 45 minutes with him. We only ended up with 8.
They can check out the raw and uncut.
Yeah. It's a crazy story of just like we flew 48 hours across the country. I mean, we got in, and from Laura calling us on a Monday morning, Wednesday morning, we were in the White House.
We were in Northern California.
We were in Northern California at the time. And so it was a lot of logistics to get that happen. And we thought we were going to have like an hour with him, and it ended up being with 8 minutes. And, but it ended up being amazing. And he's really great.
But he said, I got to go. I'm dealing with China.
Yeah. He's like, but no, what I noticed in that moment was, because everything was so rushed, he all of his handlers, the people that are around him kind of running his schedule and stuff, just wanted him to blow it off. And he actually took the time to adjust himself for a few minutes and give us this really great interview. And he could have just, blown us off and been a jerk. But, what I experienced in the moment was a man who understands who he is in the moment and kind of knows how to bridle that power and be humble and be who he needed to be in that moment. And so it was an extraordinary experience.
Yeah. And we can actually post the raw and uncut in the links or comments below.
Oh, yeah. So anyway,
we talk about that
if anybody wants to see, on our locals channel, you can go and if you become a supporter, you can actually watch like the full interview where Joy and I kind of do director commentary and producer commentary behind the scenes, tell the whole story. And watch the full interview right there.
Because there was a lot of things involved.
Yeah, there was a lot involved.
Yeah, and it seems like you have basically you're hobnobbing and rubbing elbows with his inner circle. Mike Lindell, Laura Trump. I mean, I'm sure you met the kids as well, Ivanka and John Jr.
We met John. We haven't met Ivanka yet. We tried.
Don Jr. and Kimberly.
We met a Don Jr. and Kimberly and Eric. Ivanka
wanted to be in the film.
But
during 2020, there was a lot going on.
Well, yeah.
We were headed out to interview her. Where were we? We were in Green Bay or something. We were traveling.
We were going to be going to we were going to be in New Hampshire, and then that got canceled because of a storm. And anyway, so there was several moments where we had her scheduled
5 different times that she was scheduled,
and then it just didn't work out.
Seriously, one was a natural disaster.
Yeah.
And then with Kimberly, Don Jr.'s girlfriend, Kimberly Guilfoyle, we were going to film her the day after the 4th of July. So we were going to do July 5th. And they were at South Dakota.
They were in South Dakota.
And then all of a sudden she gets the big announcement that she's got COVID and they can't even fly back on Air Force One. They have to drive. And so that canceled our whole time with her. And we had to wait for 2 weeks and a bunch of tests. And then we had to do this whole thing. And so we ended up getting her and Don Jr. at the Trump Hotel, their
Several
interview.
weeks later, yeah.
Several weeks later. But it was not an easy task whatsoever.
But super impressed with all of them. I mean, like they're just, I mean, Eric and Laura, we went to their house with about 12 people. Yeah. We show up. And Laura's like, "Oh, y'all hungry? Like, there's the pantry. Just help yourself."
They were
great. She's just like super normal people.
Spoke to very genuine.
Spoke to the Secret Service agents and asked them like, "Who are how are the Trumps?" And they're like, "They're just so great. Like, they're so awesome." And the guy was like, "I go home like the holidays." And my mom and dad and family and stuff like that. So tell us the dirt on the Trumps. And he's like, there is no dirt on the Trumps. Like, they're just great people.
They're great people.
So, yeah.
That was our experience.
Eventually, I think you guys should be like, when this whole storm blows over, which it will, I believe, hopefully sometime soon, you guys are, obviously more than qualified to tell the story. You guys should be the series on Unified TV, right? The link's right down below, all right? Where there's gonna be like 100, probably 100 episode per series, and they're probably gonna be like 2 hours long. You'll probably have to hire Mel Gibson and a bunch of other cool guys to help you along. But that this is a story that needs to be told at some point. We got to burn everything down and start from scratch, because everything we learned was just a bunch of lies and BS, and it's just basically you're going to a governmental concentration camp so that you could serve the Matrix.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, here you are, you're basically a movie producer, storyteller / journalist, and you're hobnobbing with the most powerful president in the history of the world.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's been kind of crazy because we just, like
very
I said,
humbling.
We started making films in the park with our kids, and all of a sudden it's like we're in the White House.
Well, I'm an ex-pizza guy. Yep. I own pizza shops. What do I know about what I'm doing right now? Nothing. I was scared. Yep. I mean, my first channel got blown up. I was relieved that they actually shut down my channel. I only had like 836 subscribers, and I dreaded doing these things. I really was horrible at it. I used to get like a migraine headache before I used to do one. And here I am. I'm getting better and better as I go. And it's like, hey, it's really not that much different than making pizzas. If I could figure out how to make the most delicious pizza in the world, I could figure this out. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, exactly. So what does the future bring for you guys? What are the plans for the future? Do you have any plans that you could share with us as to where you see yourselves going, 3, 4, 5 years into the future?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think our goal is actually to disrupt the industry altogether. I've been studying this for quite some time. I had a severely disabled son for almost 21 years, and Matt raised him as his own. And I started studying business and finance and filmmaking, and we love telling stories. And in the middle of it, we thought we were going to end up in Hollywood someday, and then we decided to go outside the system and do what we've been doing. And I think we really have some key plans and strategies to create tons of content all at one time. And because right now, the last year of watching stuff for us has just been awful. We used to go to the films all the time at the theater and, opening day or whatever. And now we're like, oh my gosh, we're going to have to figure out what we want to watch and go back and find something. And every time we watch something, right now we're like, what's the CIA trying to say at the moment? And so we've got a show on our Rumble channel called The Real History of Hollywood with Mel K. And that's on Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so we're discussing some of the films, the film history, what's gone on, the things that are good, the things that are bad. And we are partnering and collaborating with a lot of people that love films, that love telling stories, that love television, that kind of stuff. And we have some really great content that's going to be coming out. But the two things that we have to overcome is, fundraising, because if we're going outside of the Hollywood system, we have to have money to create these projects, and they are not cheap. The cameras we use, the lighting we use, people are like, why is that so expensive? And we're like, honey, this is like quarter of the cost that you would pay if you were in the industry. And then distribution, we're working with people on distribution platforms on where we can put the content, because that's a huge thing for us. Is if you create something that's awesome and nobody knows about it and you can't get it out there, and my mom's the only one watching it, it doesn't do anything any good.
Yeah. And then we've been, we were talking last week with a big, an organization that's attached to a very big studio.
Yeah.
And they're interested in some of our content. And I think what's interesting is that the industry is really, really shook right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they just kind of jumped on to this woke agenda, and they started making product for a very small segment of society, and they can't figure out why that's not churning in the bucks.
That's not going wildfire.
And so, but then you have movies like Maverick or Spider-Man No Way Home. It just made buku bucks at the box office because it's just a fun story. It's a good story. But I think that people still want to go to the movies. People are looking for good content that that they can't. They don't feel like they have to. That violates who they are.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because I think that there's just this opportunity right now for those of us that want to disrupt the industry. And really what's crazy is that we're disrupting it by bringing it back to normalcy, like bringing it back to like real storytelling. To good storytelling. And so we've got several projects that we're working on right now. We've got scripted like a family comedy. We've got a historical drama, a children's cartoon show. We've got just several other kind of independent kind of films, but like some bigger blockbuster type stuff.
We've got something for all ages and phases.
Yeah, we've got gritty stuff. We've got cartoon stuff because we just love stories. And so as long as it's a good story.
And there's a ton of people out there right now that are leaving the industry that they've been working in for 20, 30, 40 years. And they're like, I can't do this anymore. And they're coming out of that. And, there's going to be jobs and things for them. And they're just going to take their skill set.
Well, it's interesting because it's kind of, it's starting to decentralize because, when you have that centralized model about anything, it becomes a place where it's just always turns into this top down kind of tyrannical control.
Right.
And what's really great about where we're at right now, I think a lot of hope for the future because there's the technology has made it cheaper.
Yeah.
It's more accessible. And so anybody that can tell a good story, and you can get access to the technical stuff, there's a lot of opportunity to get out there and jump in the game. And so, and I think that more and more people are starting to do that. And I think people are. I'm just really interested to see because it's like there's the whole industry, like so much of it, like our economic systems, the government systems. Right. Like every single system right now is just being just ripped open.
It is.
And it's really fascinating. And Hollywood's really no different.
And exciting. You're just like, what? And then you're like, oh yeah.
Yep.
That's happening.
Yeah. But for those that are willing to look ahead and willing to look for answers and for solutions, and to see really the apocalypse for what it is, are going to be able to, I guess, take advantage of it and reap the benefits of being kind of first to the game and providing the solutions, because these are just creating problems, and those that are entrepreneurial can help provide the solutions.
Right.
Yeah. I'm guessing you guys are definitely following the 17th letter of the alphabet movement, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. And when you went like this, and I know what you're talking about. Okay. 2024.
Yeah.
Is that a real thing with Donald Trump running in 2020? Are we going to allow the people that robbed the bank, we know exactly where they are, We know exactly how much money they stole. We know exactly who drove the car. We know exactly where they landed. We have all of the proof beyond a shadow of a doubt. We're just going to let them get away with it.
Well, I think we're going to have to watch some stuff play out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about it today. He hasn't conceded.
I know that.
We were talking about Brazil and Bolsonaro, so he hasn't conceded. And
yeah, everybody's watching Brazil right now like crazy.
Right. And so we got to interview his son. You did at the Cyber Symposium.
Yeah, Eduardo Bolsonaro, actually on our Rumble channel, if anybody wants to go there and watch that. There's a little interview with him.
And then we did Selection Code. So if you watch Selection Code, it's the story of Tina Peters, the Mesa County clerk and recorder in Colorado. She
took an image of her election server
before and after.
I think it's interesting because
people can insist on.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how because Americans, I don't know, we're a weird bunch, and so I don't think that people understood to the extent that the brainwashing happened, and so I think for those of us that because I've been. So Joy and I mean, we grew up around our parents who were talking about the New World Order and the Federal Reserve and, all of that stuff for ever since we were 7.
Yeah.
So it's not like any of this is new to us. But I think that for those of us that have been, I guess, awake, and paying attention, it's just such a grind because we're like, like we want it to be done. We want to see justice happen. But, I go out and you talk to just your neighbors and they don't know any of this stuff, and it's
oblivious.
Just crazy.
They're completely oblivious. They have no idea.
But
good.
But they're very interested in it.
Especially right now,
I would say
they're like something's going on.
I would say 7 out of 10 people that I talk to that are because people ask what you do, and so I made these documentaries. What documentaries have you made? It's like I made this one, and then all of a sudden it's like they start asking questions.
Well, you get 1 to 3 answers.
Well, no, I'm just saying like 7 out of 10 times I would say 70% of people are actually like, tell me more, and then 30% you kind of get like either like, okay, they're going to change the subject or they gloss over, but I think that what I've noticed over the past few years is the population seems to be much more engaged, or at least very curious, asking questions. And I think that once people start asking questions, it just kind of snowballs from there. So we're getting close to a tipping point. But Americans, we're not a third world country. We're not Brazil, where Brazil is taking out to the streets right now. And I don't think we ever will be. And I think that there's a lot of Americans that want us to be, but I don't know if we will, because we're these individual states and we're very individually minded and kind of have this self-sufficiency. And so when it comes, we're just kind of like more like, okay, well, I'm just going to take care of myself. And I'm going to make sure that, my family's taken care of. And it's kind of this autonomy
my neighborhood,
thing.
My community.
And it's never been about being part of a whole larger collective. And so I think that that's actually probably going to end up beating the deep state, because if they can't get us riled up into doing something stupid, then then I think we win, because we'll just outlast them, because all of their narratives starting to fall apart. They only have so many options left, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Well, Trump lives by the art of war, and he also lives by the art of the deal. He actually memorized the art of the war. A lot of people don't know that. Okay. He knows it verbatim. He could recite the whole darn book. And I know you guys are friends with Laura Trump and Don Jr. and all of that, but I'm sure a guy that follows the art of war is not going to pick up the phone just because you're friends with the son and the daughters and all that, and the daughter-in-laws.
No.
You're not going to pick up the phone and say, hey, by the way, this is Donald Trump. Let me tell you what I'm going to do next. He's not doing that, right?
No.
Okay.
No, that's the thing that's funny with people, when people say like, because I recently, a friend of ours met him, showed him a bunch of stuff. And he goes, oh my gosh, he didn't know that stuff. And I'm like, Okay.
He's also a human being.
It's still a human being, but at the same time, like, I remember a couple of years ago laughing because somebody had this was about the impeachment. This was 2019. So this is the impeachment, and we were talking about a particular Eastern European country that just happens to be on fire right now. And they were talking about oil and gas, and Donald Trump goes, "Oh, there's oil and gas over there," and he, and everybody on the news was like, "Oh my gosh, he's so dumb."
Yeah,
and I'm going like, "Oh, come on, the guy is playing stupid," because he would do that. Like, I remember one of my favorite stories of when he was in the White House was when the press asked for the official White House response on President Trump's tan.
That was the question.
That was the question of the day. And the official White House response was, "It must be good genes." And he's right, and the media went nuts with it. It's like, it's obviously spray on. He's lying. Blah blah blah. He's such a liar.
Stupid question.
And I'm just like, he constantly is messing with these people and trolling them.
Yeah.
And so when he plays dumb, it's like, I remember listening to Glenn Beck interviewing him, and he asked him Mr. President, have you heard of the Great Reset? And he's like, "No, what's that?" And I'm just like, and Glenn Beck's like, "Oh, well, I wrote this book about it. Now I'm going to send it to you," and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, dude, come on, you guys, like, he's just such a master chess player. He's not going to let anybody in on what he knows.
Yeah. Listen, sometimes when you play stupid, it's smart. And sometimes when you play smart, it's stupid. You know what I mean? Yep. And he knows how to do that better than anybody. What do you think of this thing with Twitter and Musk? And do you think that they're going to reactivate Trump's account? Is this a step in the right direction as far as social media? Or are we going to see somebody else take over YouTube? That would be great. Elon, if you're out there listening.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, that's one of those things for me. And Matt and I, we do everything together: kids, business, politics, discussions, everything. And we have really great discussions about all this. And for me, it's one of those things. Again, it's a wait and see kind of thing. You know, let's see the fruit of stuff. I have mixed feelings about Elon, and I think that there's stuff that he talks about and that he's involved with. I'm like, I don't know. He keeps, talking about free speech. And I'm wondering, does he want that because of AI? Does he want people to get on his platform and he can track everything and he can do all that? Is there a hidden agenda? Is it because he wants to expose stuff and just watch it blow up and have fun? I think we talk about all the time. Is he good? Is he bad? Is he, in the middle somewhere? Is there? He
seems to be kind of like a chaotic neutral character to me.
I don't know.
He kind of tends to, like, just want to stir the pot.
I have a healthy distrust of everybody, though.
I don't know.
I like Elon. I think Elon's just having too much fun.
He is. His
whole
little sync thing, coming in, like, let that sink in. You're like, all right.
It's like he's doing this thing as a multi-billionaire who's very eccentric, extremely smart, but he's doing things as a game and he's having fun with it. It's like an adult game that most people can't figure out. I know what he's doing. Okay. Yeah. In your opinion, does this end with the military? Because in my opinion, I believe it does. Where are you at on that?
That's a good question.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I think eventually
one of our great discussions.
It does. Well, because see, this is the thing that I will point out to people, because people will say, like, oh, well, they'll point to, my brother's in the military and, he doesn't know anything about this, and, or this or whatever. And they'll point to different things. And I'm like, okay, for one thing, the military is completely compartmentalized. So, like, there's apps, and we know people who have worked on things to regret it later because
they didn't know what they were
doing. And, you know, and they
were
in the
given a
military,
task.
and they were given a task, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I built this like network thing that's enslaving people. But anyway, so that can absolutely happen. But this is the thing that is really, to me, that I can't get past, is this idea that the greatest and the best and the brightest military in the world didn't game out a Manchurian candidate situation. And I just can't get past that thought. I can't get past that, you know, because it would make sense that they would, because it's a possibility. And if it had happened in a situation where a Manchurian candidate gets installed, it would have to be a completely clandestine operation, because it would have to be the type of operation, because there would be such a heavy infiltration. And so you wouldn't know who to trust, right? And so the American people wouldn't be able to know about it. And so I believe we're literally in the middle of a war, and we're going to look back on it in 20 years, and we're going to go like, oh my gosh, like that was what was happening. But we're just in the middle of this fog right now. And I do believe that there's some sort of military operation at play, because I love strategy games. I just can't imagine, like I said, the best military in the world not gaming that out and having some sort of plan in place where they would be able to operate, you know, with a Manchurian candidate in office.
Well, let's say just worst case scenario, right? I mean, again, we talk about this stuff all the time, and is there a plan? Is there not a plan? All that kind of stuff. What we do know is that good always rises. You know, there are people everywhere that are making pizzas one day and doing a podcast the other day so they can get the news out there. So whether they're in the military, they're in just doing life or whatever, good always rises to the top. And you will find people using whatever they can with whatever skill set they have to bring out the best in humanity and fight for their brethren, and they really care. And there are people that have a skill set that have been in the armed forces forever that will do the right thing. They're not just order takers. There's a lot of order takers out there, but there are people out there going, I'm not okay with taking that order, and I will break the rules to do the right thing to protect other people. And so I think either way, whether it's planned out, not planned out, we're still sitting on the right side of history, and we're going to watch this unfold.
And kind of going back to what we were talking about before with the amount of people waking up, it's, you know, the document says we the people. And so it doesn't say we the military, it says we the people. And so, you know, the people have to be on board. I remember having a conversation with somebody a few years ago where, you know, I pointed out, you can't go into that kind of an operation without first dismantling the media. You have to completely dismantle the trust in the media. And that's happening. Right. You know, so that the trust in the media has never been at an all-time low
from
everybody. I mean,
that's across the board.
Joe Rogan, you know, podcasts like this is where people are going for their news now. And so that's number one. So you have to break down the trust in the media.
Well, and then I have to bring up one subject when it comes to that. Is we talk about that because you have to follow the money, right? And so if the money, if there's, you know, 6 major stakeholders in the companies for the media, and you've got somebody like CNN, and they get to tell everybody that's below them what to report on, all that kind of stuff. Well, we start pulling the funds, right? I mean, this is the first time we removed Netflix. We got rid of Disney Plus. You know, there was stuff that we had to grieve. We were like, okay, we're not going to put our finances here. But you start pulling funds, and then you get podcasters that are saying, well, I'll be funded not by a major network, but I'll get funded by my sponsors, right? Then they're not beholden to, you have to tell me what to say because that's how I get my paycheck. Well, you're not going to be my affiliate anymore, you know? And so I think that's one of the ways that it's breaking down is these media conglomerates they're going to start losing funding really quickly because people are going to pull out.
You had to break down that media apparatus. And so you had to break in the faith, but then like we've been at these Reawaken tours, and there's always like a media posse that's kind of like over on the side, interviewing people and interviewing some of the speakers and things. And I've really seen them mature and grow over the last year and a half, where it's less of an organization and more of an organism, where people are sharing contacts, you know what I mean? So it's not they're looking at it like they're in a competition with each other, but they're becoming this really amazing force where now if, all of a sudden there's a quote unquote break-in at the Pelosi's house and, within hours, the narrative is just ripped apart. Right. And so there had to be a maturity, I think, for the digital soldiers, so to speak, to kind of come into their own and to really become the fighting force that needed to happen in this information war.
Speaking of Elon, though, that was one of the fun ones that he did when.
Oh yeah, he trolled Hillary. he deleted that tweet though.
Did he? Yeah, oh man, that one actually made me happy.
But also, and I think so. Then once that happens. Then I think that once you get a majority of the people, because again, it's we the people waking up, then I think then the military can step in, because then the military feels like, okay, the people are on their side. Right. If you didn't have the people on your side, then it feels like a coup, and the media would spin that out of control. And so it all has to happen at the right. I mean, the timing is everything, right? Timing is everything. But nothing can stop what's coming. It's just
nobody can.
Right. But it has to be done sequentially and in order, or else. And that's one of the things that Trump is big on, is like, it's the rule of law, law and order, doing everything by the book, making sure he's doing everything constitutionally. And so I believe that that's his MO. And so I think that that's what's playing out. And I think ultimately our country is going to be stronger for longer. Right. Because of this time and this pressure cooker that we've been under.
So my question is to you is this. You remember Trump coming down the escalator announcing? Okay.
Yeah.
What did the sign behind him say? Currency exchange.
I've never noticed that. That's crazy.
Watch the video. Currency exchange. And he makes the inauguration speech. We're going to give the power back to you, the people.
Yes.
We're going to give you Nesara, Gesara. Listen very carefully. Okay. What happened in Kuwait when we went to war with Kuwait? Well, not us, but, the guy that we created, the monster. And then he said, hey, I want to go invade Kuwait. And they said, yeah, go right ahead. And then we spun the whole entire thing saying, hey, he invaded Kuwait. Now we got to go invade Iraq. Well, the bunch of people went down there and bought what? Dinars. Kuwaiti dinars. And a lot of people, when they realized that the money was going to devaluate to 0.00000 something, and they were going to buy it up cheap, and multi-millionaires became multi-trillionaires literally overnight. Same thing's happening now. The only difference is we, the deplorables, got our fingers on it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so there's this big reevaluation. When I got into this thing with XRP and the global reset, I said, oh my God. I'm looking at XRP Army, the original Army, and I'm listening to these guys. I'm watching as many videos as I can. I was literally consumed watching videos. I started watching 3-4 hours a day, which soon turned out to be like 17 hours a day of watching these guys. And they're talking about Klaus Schwab, the government, the Federal Reserve. I'm like, oh my God, we're going into full-blown communism. And then one day it hit me. I said, no, there's got to be another player on the field. And that player is Nesara, Gesara. Okay. And it was clear as day. And I said to my wife, I'm going to start a channel about XRP, but I'm going to tie it into 45. I'm going to tie it into the low-lying satellites with the nodes residing in outer space. I'm going to tie it into the quantum computers. I'm going to tie it into the computers that are in Reno. One's in Reno, one's in the other one's in Spain, the other one's in Dubai. There's 3 of them. Okay. They're all tied. And I'm going to tie it into the 17th letter of the alphabet. I said, it's all connected. And she said, you are absolutely nuts. And today I built 100,000 people in less than a year. Okay. 100,000 people plus following me, the pizza guy that don't know nothing. Everybody says, your story makes sense. I can't even watch XRP Original Army anymore. This makes more sense to me. Klaus Schwab, which I don't believe it's him, you're in a movie. You understand movies.
Yep.
Okay. You're in a movie. These people that are walking around are not who they are.
No. No.
Okay. And
no, you
so
keep your leaders hidden. That's what they do.
So this movie has to play out. I believe it had to happen this way. There was no other way that you could have, rolled over into the quantum reset, the quantum Gesara Nesara XRP reset. The dinars, everything's going to be reevaluating here. Trump saying level playing field. The bonfire guy videos, you saw those, I'm sure, where he went to, all over the world and he walks in front of the Queen. Did you see those videos?
Yep.
Okay. These are all messages basically saying, I'm walking in front of you because I'm in charge.
All right. I love pointing that stuff out to people, and kind of just like going like, did you know this? And they're like, what does that mean? And I'm like, I don't know, but it's weird, and people, and you just see people's heads kind of go, like that's strange. Yeah. And I'm like, I know, and I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. But it's odd. And I've never seen anything like it before. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Does Donald Trump run in 2024? This thing comes unhinged in the next, 2 months, 3 months.
I've heard so many different things. I think, again, like I said, he's definitely wants to do things by the rule of law. He definitely wants to do things constitutionally. And so, and I think that, again, if the military were to step in and do something, it would have to be at the right time, and the optics would have to be absolutely perfect. Otherwise, it looks like a coup. And you'd have a bunch of people who wouldn't buy into it, and that would be, and ultimately end up being a problem.
Be used against the people.
Yeah. So do we win the midterms, and all of a sudden there's a stalemate, and the deep state can't do all of the worst stuff that they've been trying to do for the last 2 years anymore? Does it kind of like temper that off, and then he actually runs and then wins? And then it's kind of like seals the legitimacy of it, or, does something happen and then all of a sudden, I don't know. There's so many different ways that it could go right now. I've heard that he's going to come back sooner than 2024. He's said things kind of like that.
I think there's plan A, plan B, plan C.
Yeah, I think.
And this is ideal. This is where we're headed. This is where we want to do. This is where we're going. If that doesn't work, then this is what we're going to do. And if that doesn't work, this is what we're going to do. So I think that 2024 is an option. Is that the first option? I don't think so.
Are we sustainable to 2024? That's the question.
Well,
that's a good question.
That's a good question. I don't know, because I don't know how we're still standing economically right now.
Well, I mean, we're pretty propped up at the moment, and I think that's getting ready to hit the fan. I think that's a hard one, because I think that there's so many things that have been planned and put in place that are getting ready to actually, we're going to walk it out and watch it. We're going to experience stuff. And that might be what it takes to throw some people over the edge. Like we said, we've got some neighbors that have asked us some questions and everything. And they're curious, and we'll go on a trip or we'll film something, and we come back and they ask us some questions. But I think as things happen over the next couple of months, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, and I keep saying, anybody that's got their head in the sand is getting ready to have their ass whacked.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, let's talk about diesel fuel for a second. All right.
Yeah.
I'll wrap this up here shortly. Diesel fuel. People saying, oh my God, there's not going to be any more diesel fuel. Well, if there's not going to be any more diesel fuel, there's not going to be any fuel, period, because the trucks that deliver the fuel run on diesel.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. People, it's just simple stuff that people cannot figure out. You guys, I had an incredible time. I thought this was going to be good. It was 5-10 times better than I did.
Awesome.
Came out. I got to have you guys back again. We're going to say goodbye to the audience. I learned a lot. I'm sure you guys probably, maybe I don't know how much you can learn from a pizza guy, but
no, it's great. This is awesome.
Definitely had fun. But thank you to the Aggie family, and I want to see the Aggie family back. These guys are amazing. They even have our banners. People are calling me from the side of the road. They're like, Mel, you're not going to believe this. I'm watching your logo on one of the banners.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So let's say goodbye to the audience, Matt and Joy, and we'll see you guys on the next one. We depend on you guys. You guys are the street soldiers. You guys got to sprinkle us out there like confetti. Without you guys, we're nothing. We're just, a channel that's going nowhere. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you.